I feel great going into this mock game week and then the next game week.
What's it like this year compared to last year, having that year experience, knowing what the expectations are going into the season?
So as a kicker, you can go through highs and you can go through lows. So for me, last year I went through the highs of the highs and the lows of the lows. So for me, I've been able to experience all of it. So now going into this year, I know what it feels like. I know how to adjust to it, how to just kind of approach that adversity, whether it's highs and being able to stay constant, or lows and being able to respond well and move on with the game and move on to the next kick.
Take me through some of the highs then. What were some of the high points of last year?
So obviously the Iowa State game was awesome. You know, scoring the touchdown, kicking the 2 field goals, like that was the 2 highs, you know, and on there you're on cloud 9, you're having the best time of your life, and then, you know, some of the next games come along and you don't do as well. And so that's when you're at the lowest point and it feels like you're rock bottom. So at that point, you know, on either one of those 2 spectrums, you've got to be able to get right back into the middle and say, you know what, the last kick doesn't mean anything, it's the next one that's up, regardless of make or miss.
Specifically the lows then, what were the lows last year?
So West Virginia was really tough on me, and then Texas Tech was also fairly tough. And so those were the 2 lows, and those are the ones that you just need to, you know, learn from. It was a learning curve for me. Now I know what it feels like, and so I'm able to adjust to it and just say, you know what, move on to the next kick. I've got to do it. I mean, because the team's counting on me to make that next one, so I've got to be able to make sure that my mind's mentally correct and I'm physically right to kick the next one.
How do you balance out those highs and those lows and kind of stay even keel, especially as a kicker?
Yeah, so it's actually pretty tough, and I've actually been able to, and that was one thing I'm very thankful for last year, because I've been able to learn, you know, like my mental routine. Okay, I make the kick, go get my tee for kickoff, kick the touchback, and now you're on the sideline and you're mentally shut off because the defense is on. And then, okay, now the offense is up and, okay, they're driving, so now I'm going to kick in the net twice. Now I'm going to visualize myself kicking on the field. And so for me, it's just better to see that, okay, hey, as I've grown, it doesn't matter what I've done, make or miss, the next kick is coming, the offense needs me for that next kick, so I've just got to be ready. And so it's really just a mental game of me telling myself, just forget about the last one. Every kick is independent from another. You know, it does not matter. Like for offense, first and second down, they're kind of dependent on one another. For me, that last kick and that next kick aren't dependent on one another, very independent.
Zach, going back to those lows, did you notice anything in particular that you did on those kicks? Was it mechanics or anything like that?
So, no, in the West Virginia games, that was just some tough weather that I was, you know, the 54-yarder, it was short. It was still a really good hit. I just didn't drive it enough through the wind. And then same thing with the 46 off the upright. I just didn't play the wind correctly enough, and I pushed a little bit too much right than I was expecting it to. And so, you know, on those, it's just, you know, it's unfortunate, but for me, it's like I didn't just shank them, and I didn't miss them by a lot. Like, they were both really close kicks, and obviously you want them to go in, and I'm never gonna justify a miss, you know, but at the end of the day, it's something I can learn from and say, okay, hey, I missed them, but now I can learn from it. I can see, okay, hey, maybe next time just a little bit more left for the wind, or maybe I can get my foot wrapped around it a little bit more to drive it through the wind, through that wind.
New deep snapper, new holder. How do you adjust to new snapper, new holder?
That's what the summer's for, and thankfully I was able to get a lot of good work with both Ben Anderson and Josh Plaster this past summer, and we were able to get a great cohesion and great chemistry together through the summer, and then once fall camp hit, it just kind of all clicked. And you know, I trust those guys just as much as I trust Casey and Turk. So those 2 guys, I mean, as a kicker, you're controlling maybe 10% of what you can. You know, holder, snapper, and the ball's in the air for 85% of what we do. So I trust those guys pretty much my life, and I say, you know what, I'm going to control what I can control, and I trust them to get their jobs done. And this fall camp, they've done exactly that.